Keir Starmer's Labour government is reeling from a double blow this week. First, the dramatic resignation of Transport Secretary Louise Haigh over a decade-old fraud conviction sent shockwaves through Westminster. And now, in a move that has sparked fresh controversy, a senior Labour minister has made startling comments about Britain's growing frustrations with politics at a public event addressing the looming general election petition. These remarks, though candid, have only added fuel to the fire of Labour's already chaotic narrative. Is this honesty or a sign of a party in crisis? Stick around, because we're diving into the full story, and it's messier than you think.
But could I also talk to you about the growing, well, I see it as a problem, you mightn't see it as a problem, this popularity petition that is going around and has now reached 2.5 million signatures. I mean, there you are, a few months in government, and all these folk are saying, that's it, we've had enough, get out, or we want the chance of going to the polls again. Is this all a bit of a joke, or how seriously do you take this?
Well, we've had lots of elections in recent years. We've had almost a chaotic amount of elections, and I think what people want from politics and from government is for them to do things that are actually going to help them. I know didn't vote for us, and they didn't want the outcome that happened in the election, so it doesn't surprise me that they would take the opportunity to point that out. The thing that I would say is I do not blame anyone in this country for being frustrated at what has happened in politics in recent years. I don't think that we've delivered I don't think politics has delivered for the country. It's the challenge for us now to make real changes that people can see so they experience a better quality of life. And that is the challenge that I relish.
The political storm surrounding Keir Starmer's Labour government shows no signs of abating. What began as a contained scandal over Louise Haigh's resignation has now spiralled into a broader crisis, one that is testing the very foundations of Starmer's leadership. A Labour minister's comments about the real and valid frustrations of Britons with the current state of politics, delivered at an event focused on the upcoming general election petition. On the surface, the minister's remarks seemed straightforward, a rare acknowledgement of the public's disillusionment with Westminster. People are frustrated, she said. Frustrated with the system, with delays, and yes, even with us. I understand that frustration. It's real, it's valid, and it's something we have to address head-on if we're serious about restoring trust in politics. The words may have been intended as a rallying cry for reform, but instead they've been interpreted by critics as an admission of Labour's own failures. The fallout from these comments has been swift and brutal, adding to the chaos already engulfing the Labour government. Political opponents have pounced on the minister's remarks, framing them as proof that Labour is out of touch and ill-equipped to govern. Meanwhile, within the party, opinions are divided. Some see the statement as a refreshing moment of honesty, while others believe it has handed the Conservatives yet another weapon to use against Starmer's already embattled administration. The timing couldn't be worse. Just days ago, Louise Haigh resigned as Transport Secretary after it emerged she had pleaded guilty to a fraud charge related to a stolen phone in 2014. Haigh insists the incident was a genuine mistake, claiming she mistakenly reported the phone as stolen after a mugging, only to later discover it hadn't been taken. But damning new details, including metadata suggesting a photo tied to her police report was taken after the alleged theft, have cast doubt on her account. For Starmer, the Haigh scandal is more than a personnel issue. It's a credibility crisis. The Labour leader has spent months positioning himself as the man to restore trust and integrity to British politics. Yet, with one of his key allies forced to resign and another minister publicly admitting to the public's discontent, that narrative is beginning to crumble. And now, with the general election petition looming, the stakes for Labour couldn't be higher. The petition itself has become a focal point of political debate. Triggered by widespread dissatisfaction with parliamentary affairs, it offers the potential for voters to demand by-elections in key constituencies. If successful, it could reshape the political landscape ahead of the next general election. Labour, already on the defensive, can ill afford to lose ground in marginal seats. Yet, the minister's comments about voter frustrations have added fuel to the fire, prompting speculation about whether Labour can maintain its hold on critical constituencies. Meanwhile, the Conservatives have seized on Labour's missteps, launching a coordinated attack on Starmer's leadership. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has been particularly vocal, accusing Labour of failing to deliver on its promises and being just as disconnected from voters as the Conservatives have been accused of being. Keir Starmer talks a big game about change, Sunak said at a recent press conference, but all we're seeing is chaos and confusion. The British people deserve better. Labour insiders, however, insist the party is still on track to deliver its ambitious reform agenda. Starmer has been vocal about his missions, a series of targeted policy goals designed to address the nation's most pressing challenges. These include improving early years education, reducing hospital waiting lists, and tackling the housing crisis. But with the party mired in scandal, even the most carefully planned policies risk being overshadowed by the ongoing drama. Adding to the tension are the growing protests against Labour's policies. Farmers recently took to the streets of Whitehall to oppose proposed changes to inheritance taxes, while thousands continue to march for Britain to reassess its support for Israel in the Gaza conflict. Starmer himself acknowledged the difficulty of the road ahead in a recent editorial, writing, "Meaningful change is not easy to deliver. There will be obstacles and blockers, maybe even protests, but we must remain focused on the bigger picture. But staying focused is proving easier said than done." The Labour minister's comments about voter frustrations have reignited debates about whether the party is doing enough to connect with the public. Critics argue that Labour has failed to communicate a clear vision for the future, instead relying on vague promises and endless relaunches. Even some within Labour have begun to question whether the party's leadership is prepared to navigate the challenges of governing. The general election petition is shaping up to be a litmus test for Labour's political competence. If the party can manage the process effectively and retain its hold on key constituencies, it could serve as a rallying point for Starmer's leadership. But if Labour falters, it risks giving the Conservatives an opening to regain momentum ahead of the next general election. As the dust continues to settle, one thing is clear. Labour is at a crossroads. Starmer must find a way to steer the party through this crisis, rebuild public trust, and refocus attention on Labour's policy agenda. It's a tall order, and with the Conservatives waiting to pounce on every misstep, the road ahead looks anything but smooth. For voters, the stakes are equally high. With both major parties embroiled in controversies, the public's frustration with politics is unlikely to dissipate anytime soon. The question now is whether Labour can rise above the noise and deliver on its promises, or whether the chaos will prove too much to overcome. If you want more updates on this explosive story and every twist in UK politics, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and stay tuned, because this drama is far from over.